The low, vibrating rumble of heavy machinery shattered the quiet peace of my Saturday morning. I stood on my back porch holding a cup of black coffee. A bright yellow commercial excavator was currently tearing through the wooden privacy fence that separated my property from the newly sold house next door. I watched the wooden planks splinter and fall into my rose bushes. I did not feel a sudden wave of panic. I observed the destruction with the cold, calculating precision of a mathematician looking at a flawed equation. My new neighbors, Pamela and Greg, had moved in 3 weeks ago. They were a deeply insufferable couple who operated entirely on unearned arrogance. Greg was an obnoxious day trader who treated every interaction like a hostile negotiation. Pamela was an aspiring lifestyle influencer who believed the entire street should cater to her curated aesthetic. Pamela walked through the wreckage of the fence holding an expensive tablet. She wore a pristine white tracksuit and oversized sunglasses, looking completely unbothered by the fact that her hired crew was currently trespassing on my land. "Good morning, Jocelyn," Pamela called out. Her voice dripped with an artificial, condescending sweetness. "I know the noise is a bit much, but we are finally fixing this eyesore of a boundary line." I set my coffee mug on the railing. "You are demolishing a fence that sits 2 feet inside my legal property line, Pamela. You are trespassing." Greg strolled up behind his wife. He laughed a dry, scraping sound. "Listen, Jocelyn. We are building a luxury outdoor kitchen and a heated cabana. Your overgrown garden does not fit the modern vibe we are establishing for the neighborhood. We are doing you a favor by elevating the local property values." Pamela handed me a laminated piece of paper. "Furthermore, we have decided to establish a neighborhood beautification committee. Since I am the acting president, I am issuing you a formal warning for the state of your landscaping. If you try to stop the construction, Greg has a legal team on retainer who will drag you through civil court until you are completely bankrupt." They were utilizing a classic intimidation tactic. They believed wealth and aggression could bulldoze over legal boundaries. They assumed I was just a quiet, unassuming librarian who would surrender to avoid a costly legal battle. They failed to do basic background research on their target. I do not work in a library. I am a senior municipal land surveyor and zoning auditor for the city's Department of Urban Planning. I looked at the laminated fake HOA warning. I looked at the excavator digging a deep trench for a concrete foundation right over the boundary line. "I will keep your warning on file, Pamela," I said evenly. I turned around and walked back inside my house. Over the next 2 months, I endured a relentless campaign of psychological harassment. Pamela routinely called towing companies to remove my friends' cars from the public street, claiming they were blocking her imaginary aesthetic view. Greg blasted loud music late into the night, daring me to call the local police. They wanted to make me so uncomfortable that I would simply pack up and move. I ignored the noise. I ignored the petty insults. I spent my evenings in my home office, logged directly into the city's secure geographic information system database. I pulled the original topographic maps and the utility blueprints for our residential block. The data revealed a catastrophic, beautiful reality. Greg and Pamela did not merely cross my property line. In their arrogant rush to build a colossal backyard monument to themselves, they bypassed the municipal permitting office entirely. They poured a reinforced concrete foundation and built a heavy stone cabana directly over a Class A municipal utility easement. Specifically, they built their luxury outdoor kitchen right on top of the neighborhood's primary, high-pressure underground water main. City easements are incredibly strict. It is a federal and municipal offense to build any permanent structure over critical public infrastructure. The city maintains the absolute, unyielding right to access those pipes at any time without warning. I did not hire a lawyer. I did not send them a cease and desist letter. If I warned them early, they might have altered their plans and saved their money. I wanted them to reach the absolute pinnacle of their financial investment. I sat on my porch every evening, watching them install imported Italian marble countertops, a commercial-grade pizza oven, and a sprawling pergola. They spent upwards of $150,000 building a structure that was legally classified as an active public hazard. When the construction was completely finished, Pamela distributed embossed invitations to everyone on the street. She was hosting a backyard Oasis reveal party. The morning of the party, I finally made a single phone call. I dialed the emergency hotline for the Department of Public Works. I identified myself using my senior auditor credentials. I reported an unauthorized heavy concrete structure compressing a high-pressure municipal water main, citing an immediate risk of catastrophic pipe rupture. Bureaucracy usually moves slowly, but infrastructure threats trigger an immediate, aggressive response. Saturday evening arrived. Greg and Pamela's backyard was glowing with expensive string lights and outdoor heaters. A catered waitstaff carried trays of hors d'oeuvres. Dozens of affluent, obnoxious guests mingled around the pristine marble countertops. Pamela was holding a microphone, standing near the pizza oven, preparing to give a speech to her followers on a live stream. I stood on my back porch in the dark, holding a fresh cup of coffee, enjoying the perfect view. The elegant atmosphere was abruptly shattered by the blinding glare of amber strobe lights. 3 massive utility trucks bearing the city seal rolled right onto Pamela's pristine front lawn, tearing deep, muddy trenches into the expensive sod. 2 heavy municipal excavators followed close behind. A team of 12 city engineers wearing neon safety vests and hard hats swarmed the property. The music stopped. The guests froze in confusion. Pamela dropped her microphone. Greg sprinted around the side of the house, his face flushed with pure rage. "Hey, what are you doing?" he roared at the lead engineer. "Get those trucks off my lawn. This is private property." The lead engineer, a burly man holding a thick tablet, did not flinch. He looked at Greg with profound bureaucratic indifference. "Greg Harrison?" the engineer asked loudly. "We are executing an emergency utility intervention. Step away from the structure immediately." Pamela pushed her way through the affluent guests, her designer dress swishing furiously. "You are ruining my event," she shrieked. "I know the mayor. I will have all of your jobs." "You can call whoever you want, ma'am," the engineer replied. He pointed a heavily calloused finger at the luxurious cabana. "You built an unpermitted, reinforced concrete foundation directly over a 12-inch municipal water main. The weight of your structure is currently compromising city infrastructure." Greg scoffed loudly, trying to maintain his arrogant posture in front of his wealthy friends. "So what? Write us a fine. I will write a check right now, and you can leave." "You cannot buy an easement, sir," the engineer stated. His voice carried an unyielding, terrifying finality. "This is not a civil dispute. We have a court-mandated order to access and inspect the pipes immediately." The engineer raised his hand and signaled the excavator operators. The guests began to scramble toward the exits as a colossal yellow machine rolled directly into the backyard, its heavy metal tracks crushing the imported patio tiles into fine dust. "Wait! Stop!" Greg yelled, his voice cracking into a frantic, desperate pitch. "You cannot tear that down! That cost $150,000. Let me call my lawyers." The engineer ignored him entirely. The excavator raised its heavy steel bucket and brought it crashing down onto the roof of the beautiful, expensive cabana. The sound of shattering wood and screaming metal echoed through the neighborhood. Pamela collapsed onto her knees in the dirt, her hands covering her face, sobbing hysterically as her carefully curated influencer lifestyle was violently demolished in real time. Her affluent guests did not stay to offer comfort. They hurried to their luxury vehicles, eager to distance themselves from a public humiliation. The city crew worked with devastating efficiency. In less than 40 minutes, the marble countertops, the pizza oven, and the custom pergola were reduced to a jagged crater of debris. Greg stood near the edge of the ruin, looking completely hollowed out. The arrogant, untouchable day trader was gone. He was staring at a 6-figure pile of garbage. The lead engineer walked over and handed Greg a bright yellow clipboard. Here is your citation for unpermitted construction. You are also legally responsible for the cost of this emergency demolition, the hazardous waste removal, and the mandatory soil testing. The bill will be mailed to your primary residence. Have a good evening. The city crew packed up their gear. The excavators rolled away, leaving the backyard looking like a desolate war zone. Greg slowly turned his head. He looked across the property line. He saw me standing on my porch in the shadows, calmly sipping my coffee. The brutal reality of the situation finally pierced through his delusion. He realized I did not fight him for the fence. I let him build his own financial tomb, fully aware that the city would inevitably bury him in it. He opened his mouth to speak, but the sheer, staggering weight of his impending debt silenced him completely. I didn't need to gloat. The screeching of the city's excavator gears doing my dirty work was music enough. I took one last sip of my coffee, locked my back door, and left them alone with their 6-figure demolition bill.